Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Piofiore 1926, continuing the Alternativo route, Nicola's version of said route, but also technically Dante and Nicholas at the same time. We're getting mostly Nicholas stuff, but we're getting the combo kind of thing. So anyway, we just hit into chapter 4. Or wait, are we in chapter 3 or are we in chapter 4? I can't even remember where we are. I think we're in chapter 4. But anyway, we're just continuing, and we probably will get Nicola's ending in this part based on Orlok's only taken like 2 parts. So anyway, one morning at the Falzone Manor, I was sitting with Dante and Nicola in the salon. Dante had already finished breakfast and was now glaring at the newspaper. Any interesting news? He responded to my question by handing it over to me quietly. Mussolini to establish police state. A police state? Mussolini is pushing for a police state under the guise of protecting the country. What they intend to do is control the thoughts and the rights of the people. And there was an assassination too? Last month, a 15-year-old boy allegedly attempted to assassinate Mussolini. He failed, Mussolini survived, and the boy was killed by his guards and other party supporters. I couldn't help but gasp. And since then, there have been even more assassination attempts by anarchists. Mussolini's using that as an excuse to push his agenda. So he's discouraging his opposition by trying to control everything. That appears to be the case. Mussolini had enacted a number of new laws in the past few years. Each new law gave more and more power to the fascist party. He still wants to have more control beyond that. Seeing that I was at a loss for words, Dante changed the subject. By the way, would you like to accompany me to the ruins this afternoon? The ruins? You mentioned that you haven't found anything yet, but it's been a while since I visited myself, so I thought I might take a look. It's a good idea. You may notice something new since you're a keeper of the grave. Thank you for the offer, Dante. I'd love to go with you. After I gave Dante my response, Nicholas spoke. And then I'll join you both as well. I don't want to risk anything happening to either of you. I'm certain that the Phantom would love nothing more than to have you both there at the ruins, completely unguarded. I was like, we're gonna go someplace with Dante and Nicola's portion of this? That seems sus, but okay, this makes more sense. And that being said, I can't assign anyone to you who shouldn't know about the relic. Thank you, Nicola. I was grateful for his concern and began to look forward to this afternoon's outing. I know, right? We get our cousin sandwich. Like this. That afternoon, the 3 of us arrived at the ruins outside of town. The place is in worse shape than I thought. We're responsible for it, so we should have paid more attention to its upkeep. Oh, a lot of that was Yang. Well, it isn't as though it's visited often. The place is likely just weathered from the wind and rain. Her silence is like, I recall what happened the last time I came here with Orlok and Yang. I have a feeling the place is in shambles because of Yang. So where should we start? How about the altar? It's where you need to offer your blood, right? I'm assuming it's Emilio, because it's definitely not the Phantom. So I'm going to read it like we're Emilio, because that's correct. Then again, you do not have the ability to break the seal at this moment. Emilio! Hey, last episode we didn't get an Emilio gasp, but we got an Oliver scream, so that's okay. I turned around to see Emilio standing among us ever so naturally. Emilio? What are you doing here? I came to see how you were doing. After all, Christmas is just around the corner. So you came here to rush us? Or perhaps you're worried we'd attempt to find the relic ourselves and hand it over to the Phantom? And don't worry, we have no intention of breaking the seal. At least not today. Well, I must admit I'm not as concerned about the seal being broken, so long as the matter concerning the Phantom is resolved. Huh? Amelia smiled gently at me. See, we cannot possibly allow you to hand the relic over to the Phantom. On the other hand, if you decided to break the seal and keep the relic to yourselves, that would be acceptable. After all, the keepers of the grave must manage the relic's protection however they see fit. And listen carefully, Spacey. We're chosen by the stars to be the Key Maiden. But I do wonder whether chosen really is the right word to use. What do you mean? The stars found one who could become the Key Maiden. I believe that's a more apt description. The stars are lights that illuminate a vast darkness. They themselves do not control one's destiny. What? So what you're telling me is I shouldn't put all my faith in my horoscope, Emilio? Oh, my whole world's been shot. I'm kidding. And he looked upon the earth and found you. You who lived under these stars before you were chosen. Emilio's smile was as calming as ever as he looked at Dante and Nicola. Allow me to say this, keepers of the grave. It's your choices that determine your fate. His voice was even more sincere and divine. What humans consider truth is up to their own minds. The choice to believe in something, for better or worse, requires strength of will. And sometimes this strength can become a curse. Humans often find themselves bound by their will, against their will. Do you understand what I mean? That humans unknowingly curse themselves with what they believe is their fate? What difference is there between fate and a curse? To me, both are fundamentally the same. Dante looked a bit surprised at Emilio's thoughts on the subject. Whether your fate is a curse or not is something you must decide for yourself. His eyes were warm and sympathetic. Emilio's also a guard of the relic, just like Dante, who's a keeper of the grave. They're able to choose their own paths. Emilio emphasized again the idea that we were capable of making our own choices. As such, the effects of human will in our world today can be seen as stronger than the will of an unseen entity. At least, that's what I believe. This also applies to you, Spacey. I hope you'll take my words to heart. One day, a path will appear that will determine your future. Remember what I've told you when that time comes. With that, Emilio quietly turned around and departed. The ruins were now silent, and yet his words seemed to leave behind an echo. We continued our search through the ruins, but we were unable to find anything notable. Still, Dante and Nicola didn't appear discouraged. Maybe their purpose in coming here was to confirm that there really wasn't anything here. We looked down at the town, painted in the warmth of the sunset, when suddenly Nicola offered a suggestion. How about we stop by somewhere before heading back? Huh? Where were you thinking? Why don't we grab a bite to eat? I figure we're all a bit hungry, and I can let Julia know that we'll be back late, too. But if I go, the other customers... I'll choose a place that's busy. That way no one will notice who's joined the mix. I actually haven't had dinner at a restaurant too often. I think it'd be fun to have dinner with you both. Understood. If that's your wish, we can all go. Grazie, Dante. Thank you for the suggestion, Nicola. I like how Dante's like, I'm not allowed to go out because everybody freaks out. And they get scared. Just here to enjoy my freaking pizza, man. Anyway. You're very welcome. Nicola chuckled and gave me a wink. The three of us descended the hillside, bathed in the rays of the setting sun. You know, there's a certain type of guy that can tip his fedora and wink at you and not be creepy, and that's Nicola. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's always like tipping his hat, like, winking at you and doing the thing, and you're like, you know, when some people do it, it's creepy, but when Nicola does it, it's fine. Also because it's 1926, but I'm just saying there's probably even a type of modern man that could get away with that if, you know, but there's then the neckbeards, and it's kind of like there's just two types of people that are tipping their hats and winking at you, and one of them can pull it off because it's like, yeah, no, they're a little retro, whatever. The other one's like, no, you're just creepy, stop that. You're ruining it for everybody. People ruined, like, fedoras for everyone. Oh, I'm just saying, I have a huge collection of them. The good thing is I'm a woman, so it doesn't make a difference. But if I were a dude, I'd be pissed, is all I'm saying. But Nicola is definitely that guy who tips his hat and winks at you. Like, there's a part of me that wants, like, the time travel version of this game where, like, all of them are, like, whisked into modern day. Could you just fucking imagine there's like an alternate version of Piofiore? And it's like the modern time and you're not this MC, you're a new one. And like, my god, the shenanigans that would happen just for Nicola being Nicola would be kind of funny on its own. We were led to our seats at the restaurant. Based on our conversation from earlier and how nervous Dante looked, it seemed he didn't often frequent these kinds of places. But poor Dante, it's so sad. How about some white wine? Or maybe some spumante? Oh, but it's getting a bit chilly now, so perhaps something warm instead. I'll let you decide. All right, then I'll choose some dishes as well. Will you help me pick 'em, Space? Sure. Seeing me nod, Dante mumbled, You've been looking much happier today. Now that you mention it, I really am. Today was a lot of fun. I thought for a moment to try and pinpoint exactly what made me feel this way. I'm with Dante and Nicola, and I'm kind of happy in the middle of this. I guess it's because I haven't had a meal with you two since the Sagra. Sagra? I'm excited because it feels like another special occasion to celebrate. And then I'm glad I thought to bring us here. Yes, I'm glad I decided to come. Look at the way Dante looks at us with that sweet little face. Their warm and friendly reactions made me break into another smile. Humans are able to choose their own paths. As such, the effects of human will in our world today can be seen as stronger than the will of an unseen entity. At least, that is what I believe. Maybe I was feeling more empowered than before because of what Emilio said to us. Games! Oh no. Have we seen this one? Doubt it. No. No, open wide. Oh, were you trying to bite my finger? For shame, you naughty boy. I should place this razor blade in your mouth so you keep it open. Oh, it's sharp on both ends, so be careful. It can leave a nasty wound. Now then. Your bottom teeth are surprisingly clean. Your top teeth are free of cavities as well. Is he a fucking dentist? Like, what is wrong with this man? Congratulations! Your mouth is very healthy. Speaking of which, do you know what this is? It's called a pelican. Perhaps you've not laid eyes on a tool as infrequently used as this one. It was rather useful in the days before anesthesia. I think it's funny that they kept going question mark, question mark, question mark, and now all of a sudden they got Phantom on there. It's like we didn't know who it was, but still. Now raise your hand if it hurts. Is he like pulling this guy's teeth out? Maybe I was feeling more empowered than before because of what Emilio had said to us. Almost as though the shackles binding me in place were falling off. The way he encouraged us to choose our own paths was already having a positive effect on me. It's like we're having this happy moment and then the fucking Phantom's over there torturing a dude. It's the weirdest shit. A few days later, I was making a chestnut crostata with Julia in the kitchen. That sounds delicious. And now then, all that's left is for us to wait. Right. Julia and I let out a sigh of relief after closing the oven door. Thank you, Julia. That was a nice change of pace. Oh my, I appreciate you for helping me out. Thank you very much. I hope life here's been pleasant so far. Please let me know if you need anything. Thank you. I'm very comfortable here. I have a beautiful room to stay in. Everyone's been so kind, and what I was particularly grateful for was I still get to go outside. I can do as I please. I can do as I please. Very appreciative of the freedom I have to do as I please. I baked with you today, and not long ago they went to pick up a book I had left behind in Arca because I had wanted to read it. You'll be staying with us a while after all. I'm sure the boys just wanted to be sure you had everything you needed to be happy and comfortable here. I know, and I really appreciate them. I knew they were taking good care of me, and I couldn't possibly be more grateful. I do what I want, the Nicola answer. 3 days had passed since my conversation with Julia. Seeing how nice the weather was, I stepped out into the garden to read a book when... What are you reading there, Signorina? Nicola, he'd been out so often these days that seeing him here had become a rare sight. I almost couldn't remember when I saw him last. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Oh no, I actually just finished. I showed him the front cover of the book. Volume 4 of Tolstoy's War and Peace. Volume 4! Ah, you've been reading it for a while. That's right. Oh, right, we went when the thing. Wow, we're actually flashing back to one of those moments. Yes, I'm afraid I've been busy. Are you heading back now? Yes, I just bought War and Peace by Tolstoy. I purchased the book back in June and ran into Nicola by coincidence. Ever since the fandom became a threat, I hadn't had the chance to continue it. It was a long story, but I just finished Volume 4. I'm sorry. I haven't read it myself, but I heard it had to do with the Russian Empire. Well, what's it about? He sat down beside me, but instead of looking at the book, he directed his gaze at my face. Yes, it's about the illegitimate son of a noble who joins the Masoneria. There are a lot of characters involved, but of course many of them die as a result of the war. I stopped for a moment. The expression on Nicola's face was somewhat melancholy as he heard my description. Nicola? Are you cold? Should we go inside? I'm fine. I'm accustomed to the cold. In fact, I've been in trenches under frigid conditions much less pleasant than here. He was smiling, but there was also a slight tension in his expression. Maybe he doesn't like hearing stories about war. I mean, I could understand that. Still, he didn't try to change the subject. I couldn't tell for sure, but there must have been a reason we were talking about this now. After a short pause, I decided to ask him, if you don't mind, could you tell me more about yourself, Nicola? Huh? What you've seen? What war is really like? You don't have to, but if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear your story. He still had a smile on his face, but his eyes suddenly darkened. Even though they were facing me, he seemed to be looking at something far beyond us. All right, and then let me tell you a story. Nicola's gaze left me breathless as he quietly began to speak. The Great War began in 1914, and the following year, I was conscripted into service. I was 18 years old. I was assigned to the ground forces, which made sense since I already knew how to use a gun. I had already been trained in combat to an extent, so my superiors saw me in good light. We were assigned to the Alps, right? I recalled our conversation back at the bar. Oliver. Oh, we get to see Oliver again. Yes, you would have been old enough then. Where were you stationed? In the Alps. I do like that they had to flash back for that, we know. But, it's still funny. I got to see Oliver, I'm not complaining. That's right. And back then, we were involved in what one might call Italian irredentism? Irredentism, huh. Now, the country was bent on annexing Austrian land and claiming it to be part of the Kingdom of Italy. Now, they planned to launch a surprise attack and occupy the city, but of course things didn't go as planned. We ended up fighting in the trenches for a long time up in the Eastern Alps. Nicola looked up at the sky. I followed his gaze upward. The autumn sky was blue and beautiful. Do we get a, slightly sad Nicola, pining, looking at the sky, thinking back in his War Days CG? Because I'm just saying, we haven't had any, and this is about time for one. Not long after that was the Battle of Caporetto. Through the country, the word Caporetto lingered long after the events of the battle. Battle of Caporetto, they keep saying that, and I'm not sure I'm saying it right, so it's the less they say it, the better. But they keep wrenching it. Where the famous battle took place. After all these years, we still can't escape the sting of the defeat we suffered there. The term's even found its way into the lexicon of civilians who use it to represent failure. Even Mussolini called the failed general strike a few years ago a Caporetto. Funny, isn't it? General strike, a form of labor protest in which workers unite across industries rather than being limited to a single company or organization. He chuckled with a bitter smile, but we both knew how tragic it actually was. The Battle of Caporetto saw the deaths of soldiers beyond measure. The name holds immense weight for the soldiers who were there. Seeing me bite down on my lip in frustration, Nicholas smiled gently. Space, you're getting cold. You don't look well. No, I'm fine. You tell me a bit more. I don't mind, but first let's have a break. All this talking has made me thirsty. Thank you, Nicola. I took the hand that Nicola offered with a gentle smile and stood up from the bench. Really? Still no CG? Shocked. Nicola went into the kitchen and brought back 2 cups of cafe latte. We sat next to each other on the sofa, and after I had a few sips, he picked up from where he left off earlier. We were already at a disadvantage the moment the Alps were decided as our battlefield. As you may have read, it's the general belief that those on the higher ground have the advantage. So the army had to climb up the mountains first, right? That's right. We had to get ourselves in place before we faced the Austro-Hungarian soldiers. It was an ordeal. Austro-Hungarian soldiers. Wait, what? Yeah, Hungarian soldiers. I know I read that. I was like, my brain was like, I read that wrong. But anyway, we had to lug mortars and heavy pieces of artillery as we went along. From afar, I'd bet we looked like ants carrying grains of sugar. I could only imagine how difficult that was. Nicola looked at the copy of War and Peace sitting on the table. If I recall correctly, I was on my way to see a friend the day you purchased this book. Yes. I went to pay my respect at the cemetery. I had an idea of what war was before today. Something dangerous and heartbreaking where countries fought at the expense of countless lives. I mean, yes, but it's just a little weird where she's like, I think I knew what war was. Are you 8? I mean, even if you've never, being in their 20s like we are, even though you're a sheltered little church girl, you should still know what fucking war is. And, it's different to be like, I had a better understanding of the deeper impact of war than just, here's the general idea, and now you're seeing it from someone who was, you know what I mean? It is different. You know? It's different, just okay, right now, think about what you know, and then think about someone's experience that you're learning from them. It's different. You know what I mean? But it's just the way they worded this was a little weird. I think I knew what war was. Oh, okay, girl, stop. It just makes her sound kind of stupid. I mean, I know she's sheltered, but she's not that dumb. You know what I mean? She's pretty intelligent, so. But it goes much deeper than that. It stays with the survivors all of their lives. I mean, yes, this is the point they were trying to make, but they just phrased it weird. The gravity of it was greater than I could ever feel as an outsider. Very much agree with that, yes. The Phantom must have researched our past thoroughly, even that far back. That's why one of the bodies was frozen. Yeah, fought against the elements all hours of the day, and many died from hypothermia. He closed his eyes as if recalling the past, and continued his story slowly. Oh my god. The CG is a fucking flashback CG. I was not expecting that. Oh my god. Well, this is sad because this is Nicola in the midst of war, which is kind of tragic. And look at him, he's all disheveled and shit, but he is so fucking sexy right now. Oh my god, stop it. You can't do this. It's so wrong for the CG to be so pretty and sad at the same time. You're oh, it's kind of heavy and sad, but god damn, it's hot. What the rude game? I mean, I gotta be honest, though, it's brilliant, though, to have CGs like that, where you're I feel kind of sad thinking about him in this situation and how heavy and whatever, but then you're but goddamn did he look fine. You know what I mean? That juxtaposition, that where you're it just feels inappropriate, but I can't help it, you know? Way to make us feel all different weird feelings. Oh, but he's so beautiful. A soldier might bleed out and die as their bodies shook from the freezing cold. The nights were filled with the sounds of groaning, but had always become frighteningly quiet around sunrise. Early morning, right before battle, was when the area would be filled with complete silence. It felt like even the faintest sounds of crying were absorbed by the snow. He took a deep breath before continuing. It was October 24th, 1917. Hey! That's my birthday! Not 1917. I'm not quite that old. Not quite that old! But I'm just saying. But October 24th is my birthday. I'm so excited they put it in the game! Because you know what? When we were at several back in Gil's route, I'm oh, they just skipped right over my birthday. Just go right over October 20th, whatever. And now it's here. Look at that. Oh, thanks, game. Has to be a tragic memory, but sure, whatever. Fog was particularly thick that morning. Then that we were bombarded with artillery, smoke, and gas before we could even brace ourselves. Yeah, no, it's a traumatic memory, but okay, so thanks for that. It was a horrific battle. Even if you charged the enemy's front lines, you had no allies behind to give you cover. Many units were stranded in the midst of the enemy. General was the worst. Our leading general was Luigi Cadorna? Cadorna? An inquest was held after the war, but still retained his position as field marshal. The fascists had put him back in power. Cadorna deflected accountability onto his men, which led to their executions. The commanding officer of my unit was a fine leader, but he was one of the many executed. The days of that battle felt to me like a literal hell. I watched my comrades fall one after another. So Nicola would be traumatized every day on my birthday. Every year on my birthday, he'd be like, I'm traumatized by this date. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Each time I held another injured friend in my arms, I wondered if I would be next. 6 days into it, we received orders for a full retreat to the other side of the river. What that meant was that I had to leave them behind. Oh, it's such a pretty CG with such a terrible backstory, but I'm kind of love the fact that they gave us, like, you know, this backstory to Nicola. There's a little more depth to his character, and like that CG, that it was like a flashbacky CG, you know? So when you went to the cemetery, they're the lucky ones, being able to sleep here in peace. So he was referring to... His smile was filled with sorrow. I didn't have time to bring the bodies back. Most of my comrades are still sleeping in the Alps. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of way it is with Mount Everest. Like, if you die on the ascent or descent on Mount Everest, you're basically just left there. Like, I can't imagine any crazy person being like, I want to climb to the top of That sounds nuts to me. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Seriously, you should, like, that's crazy. But that's just me, because I'm not very active, and I certainly, even if I was, wouldn't be climbing mountains. But, like... But it's gotta be fucking weird when you're hiking a freaking mountain like that, and you're like, oh, look! That's a dead person! Hey! And you just, like, you realize that your entire trip up is just, you're surrounded by dead bodies because it's too difficult to carry people down. Because it's hard enough, especially with the lack of oxygen, like, at higher elevations, that you couldn't, like, people can barely manage to get themselves up and down, let alone dragging corpses, frozen corpses with them. You know what I mean? Like, that's always so, it's one of those things that you know, but when it's pointed out, like, there are dead bodies, and people use these bodies as, like, markers. Like, oh, yep, we're at Mr. Boots over here. What is it? Is it green boots or red boots? What's its color of the boots? Like, it's just like a famous freaking mile marker. Oh, we reached Boots, and you're like, it's a person. Like, that's so fucked up. And, like, it's just, but it's one of those things that, like, if you think about it, your brain's gonna kind of break, because you're like, that is just awful. So it just becomes something that you're just like, yep, sure. Those boots in that snow is a dead, okay, it's a mile marker now. You know, it's just fucking weird, man. So, like, not surprising in this instance either, you know? Also, even in the midst of war, most of the time, you're not dragging your comrade. You know what I mean? Like, bad. I wanted to bring at least a token, a watch or a letter back to their families. So many had died, so many tokens collected, and I had to leave the majority of them behind. Italy's listed as one of the victors of the Great War, but lost so many soldiers and suffered an unspeakable number of casualties. Not so certain that we would consider ourselves victorious. Nicholas stated the truth with a detached calmness and an ironic smile. So sorry, Nicola. My voice shook as I tried to find the words to apologize, and Nicola responded, No, I'm the one who should apologize, Spacey. I told you a story without a happy ending. You were still a child when the war was happening. Berlin's also far from the border, so the impact of the war here wasn't as profound. Only obvious you wouldn't have known. Sorry if I sounded harsh in retelling it. Well, This country appears to be at peace for now. I'm certain we'll see another great war. You know, I wasn't gonna, I was thinking it in my head, like, poor Nicholas here reliving his trauma about war, and it's like, and okay, like, you might get away with not being drafted into World War II. You know what I mean? Because, like, 20 years from now, like, but your kids, that's exact. My brain is like, if we married Nicola, our child would probably be old enough, and like, my God, poor Nicola. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, sweetie. Like, it's anyway. So yeah, but I just feel bad for him that he's like, there's another war looming on the horizon, and you're like, yeah, actually, like, and you were in one, and okay, because that's like, we're 1926, and we're like less than 20 years away. Gonna be in your late 40s, so yeah, maybe you'll luck out, but your child isn't gonna luck out, and that's traumatic. Could you imagine? I kind of feel like a lot of people have experienced that, though, you know what I mean? Because it just seems to be the cycle. But, like, you're, like, trying to get on with your life, not quite 10 years later, doing whatever, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to have a family, and everything's going to be good. And then now there's another one, now there goes my child off to work. Great! You know what I mean? Like, fuck, man. Anyway. This country appears to be at peace for now, but I'm certain we'll see another great war. Oh, I already read that. Fascists are aggressive. I'm like, wait, what? The fascists are aggressive in their pursuit to take from other countries for their own good. Mussolini's ideals have spread across not only this country, but throughout Europe as well. Germany, Spain, Austria, Hungary, even the United Kingdom are showing signs of fascism. It'll be that xenophobic mindset that'll trigger the next war. Nicholas spoke with a slightly pained yet gentle expression. I just wanted you to be informed. Even if we manage to resolve this problem, there are still many things to prepare for. I nodded slowly. Thank you for telling me, Nicola. Glad you did. Better to know than to live in ignorance. When it comes to the past as well as the future, he gave a troubled smile. Like, Nicola's route is like, we were having so much fun, and now it's just thanks for bringing the room down. We remained quiet for a time, with no words exchanged between us. I slowly took another sip of my cold cafe latte, savoring every bit as if it were my last. A few days later, on a warm and sunny afternoon, I was spending a bit of leisure time in the salon. I found myself beginning to nod off. No, I should sleep in my room, not here. The drowsiness was too strong to fight off. Did we just black out? Like, I don't know who's saying, since our arrival, I feel as though our presence has lightened the atmosphere. I agree. I'm mostly out, but I can tell things are different every time I return. I don't think this is Dante. Oh, it is Dante and Nicola. But I think it was reversed. I think Dante was the first one. And I think it was more like, since our arrival, I feel as though our presence has lightened the atmosphere. I agree. I'm mostly out, but I can tell things are different every time I return. That sounds something more than Nicola. Nicola's more out than Dante. Dante and Nicola? I can see that Julia, Leo, and you are enjoying her company. I suppose it's been a nice distraction to have someone here who hasn't been influenced by the Mafia. Right. I couldn't agree more. Hmm. Ah, you were awake, Space. I rubbed my eyes drowsily. As soon as I realized where I was, I snapped awake. I'm so sorry! I must have fallen asleep. It's alright. We're the only ones who saw you sleeping. Huh? But if you both saw me like this, it's not alright at all! Embarrassed, I covered my face with my hands. Ah, There's a call from Senior Redford. We'll be right there. Dante quickly stood up on Leo's arrival, and Nicola's expression became stern. It's a thing. We're going there. Something must have happened. I agree. It seemed that Gil had called to set up a meeting for tonight. I wasn't sure what happened, but we headed over to the designated place, barely managing to suppress our anxiety. Here we go. Ready? Woo! It's time to skip! It's time to skip a lot, because we've already spent like 30 minutes in this part. Like, ice maker. What the hell is that noise? Skip, skip, skip to my loo, skip, skip, skip to my loo, skip, skip, skip to my loo, skip, skip, skip. I don't know. Gotta keep it entertaining somehow. You okay, buddy? What you doing? You're totally asleep. Are you just asleep? Okay, you're moving. Just making sure nothing happened to you. I worried about you. Sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt you. I have the bird, obviously. Did I tell you that? I don't know. Hi, you're so cute. I'm so sorry. He's such a good birdie. You can talk. You want to chat? Want to chat with people? I don't know the answer. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know the answer. There's no guaranteed way of attaining happiness, but I'm sure the suffering you're experiencing now will not last forever. Ah, thank you, Emilio. Time to skip through the situation. I forgot that there's awful lot of skipping after this part and then into chapter 5, sorta. Well, not really. We still have to go to... Are we going to the Alps? With Nicola? I mean, where are we going with Nicola? We went to Rome with Orlok. We went to France. We've been to America. And Dante is like, we're going to Berlin. We're not going anywhere, so that's kind of boring. But where are we going to go with Nicola? So this is going to be slightly different. Oh, sorry, Bird. I didn't mean to, like, smack you. I'm sorry, I just bashed you in the head. Sorry, I was itching my nose and your head was in the way. I'm so sorry. Alright, and then we've got to... I cordially invite you to the city where I was born and raised. Perhaps so familiar that it's disappointing. But we mustn't forget our roots. What sort of precocious child was I? And to which of my acquaintances have I entrusted the record? It'll be up to you to find out. Are we talking about Venice? And with that, his message came to an end. Larry was born and raised. So, Rome. If I recall correctly, his family home was burned to the ground. Perhaps there were survivors. Bigger issue at hand is the Phantom's demand. Dangerous for her to travel there alone. Well, okay, so we've already, I guess, it does make, I was like, we've already been to Rome, but Nicola's always going there, so. But if we don't get the record, we won't have any clues. Don't worry, I'll be fine. So then with Dante, do you think we go to Venice? Because didn't his family, like, live in Venice after, like, the old people that took him in, obviously? Not his real family, but... In that case, I'll go with you. I often visit Rome for work anyway. And Dante and the others can keep watch over Berlin while we're gone. But we don't have much time until Christmas. There's no telling what the Phantom will do if we all leave the town unguarded. Well, that's true. We'll leave everything else to us. Now you two go and find the record. Well, let's do our best, Space. Yes, thank you, Nicola. And so it was decided that Nicola and I would go to Rome in search of the 11th record. Might as well take that off. This is going to be a little while before we can skip again. Rome, where we've been before. Oh, the moment I stepped outside the car, I felt a rush of excitement. Rome was the capital of Italy. Although I'd been here before, it was so different from Berlin that it left me in awe. This is your second time here, isn't it? Yes, the last time was when you brought me here because of that incident. April 1926, a rumor began circulating in Berlin of a masked demon kidnapping local children. The Berlin Mafia worked together to solve the case, because, Scooby Gang. I believe Orlok kept an eye on you since there were so many things to do. Oh, why don't we tour the area a bit if we have extra time after finding the record? Are you sure? That would be wonderful. I appreciated his thoughtfulness. You must really know your way around here. As Nicola mentioned before, he was often in Rome for work. Well, I suppose so. I used to live here too. Really? You did? I attended a university here called the Sapienza University of Rome? Anyway. It was such a famous university that even I had heard the name before I started saying that in Nicola's voice. I majored in economics and took a few courses in commerce. I wasn't able to graduate on time because the war dragged me into service. You really are incredible, Nicola. I knew that he was educated, but I hadn't fully realized the depths of his experiences. Hearing more about his life left me with little else to express but my admiration. A person's academic background isn't everything. He smiled modestly, which made him all the more impressive. Sebastiano Gallier's family home was burned down about 10 years ago. It had already been made into a vacant lot. We spoke with the neighbors, who directed us to the family servants still living nearby. As it happened, the Gallier's butler was away during the incident and survived as a result. He was still in Rome, so Nicola immediately got into contact with him to set up a meeting. The next day, we headed to a bar to await his arrival. We were seated at a table next to the window, making it easy for us to see people walking by. Before long, and ahead of our meeting time, a refined, elderly gentleman appeared. Noticing us, he quickly made his way straight toward us. Signor Nicola Francesca, I presume? And this is Signorina Spacey Adornado? I overheard Nicola speaking with the gentleman on the telephone, but he didn't mention my name. The fact that he knew it somehow made me feel tense. I believe we're meeting today because of this. He handed over something wrapped in paper. I carefully pulled it toward me. A few days ago, a certain person who should no longer exist came to see me. He requested that I give this to you. I looked inside the wrapping to find a glass case with a record inside. I turned to Nicola and nodded. I served the Gallier family for generations. I cannot disobey Master Sebastiano's orders. The Gallier family was very unique. Even so, Master Sebastiano stood out as rather peculiar among them. He cannot truly understand the pain of others. Neither does he himself understand pain, I imagine, for I have never seen him shed tears. Which is why he does not feel any guilt in harming others. It is his inane disposition. Do be careful. I appreciate the warning, but won't saying all this put you in a bad position? It's no matter. Master Sebastiano instructed me to be honest in telling you who he is. Were I not honest, I'm certain it would only spoil his mood. I believe there are others here keeping watch over me even now. I see. The elderly gentleman gave a deep nod and left. Nicola looked at the time. And departing for Berlin now means we'll get back past midnight. I'd rather not take on the risk of traveling at night. But we should stay at a hotel tonight and leave Rome tomorrow morning. Is that all right? Yes. Which means we have time to sightsee. I wonder if the story we just heard has dampened the mood. Instead, how about we have a nice dinner? I know a good restaurant near here. And perhaps we'll manage to have such a good time that it'll overshadow any of the negative memories we would have brought back otherwise. Thank you, Nicola. I appreciated Nicola's sweet smile and considerate suggestion. Later that night... You look exceptionally beautiful tonight. And that dress looks great on you. I knew the color would suit you perfectly. Nicola had packed for me one of the dresses that had been designed recently. Nicola packed one of my dresses for me. And it was the dress I was wearing tonight. The outer layer was sheer chiffon in powder blue and adorned with navy silk ribbons. It was cut in a silhouette that Nicola had specifically recommended for me. And this may be a problem. Every man in Rome will fall for you at first sight. Perhaps it's best that we stay inside where no one will see us. Oh, Nicola! He's like, maybe we should stay inside. Maybe you should tear this dress off me. What? No, I mean, yes. I knew that he was joking as usual, but there was something in his words that made me blush at the thought. How many gorgeous freaking dresses from 1926 or just anywhere in the 20s were ruined and are lost to history because Nicola ripped them off our bodies. All I'm saying. Rude. And your hair looks even more glamorous. You have an unfair advantage just being yourself, Signorina. This was the first time I was going out to dinner with just Nicola, so the whole experience was making me nervous. I hope you're feeling alright. You look as though I'm about to have you as my... you look as though I'm about to have you as my dinner. Do I? Is that really what you think of me? Rest assured, I plan on being on my best behavior as your dinner companion tonight. Unless... Shall I fulfill your expectations? In that case, I'll do my best. You're mistaken! That's not what I meant at all. I like how he's like, I was just gonna be on my best behavior, but if you don't want me to be... I mean, I don't want you to be, but... Good little church mouse that we are wants you to be. I don't want you to be! I quickly shook my head to correct him. Seeing Nicola chuckling, I belatedly realized that he was just toying with me. At least that helped ease the tension. It may have been just for a moment, but I was able to enjoy myself without worrying about the Phantom because of Nicola's playful teasing. The following day, Nicola and I left Rome and returned to Berlin just as night fell. We're going to be skipping soon, so I didn't know. But anyway. We went straight to a hotel in Falce to meet with the others. Everyone was there by the time we arrived. And did anything happen while we were away? Nothing in particular. Oh, you were only away for 2 days, Nicola. The newspaper was bashing us. The police were arresting our guys over petty charges. It was business as usual. And good to hear things haven't changed. Well, let's get started. Right. I sure hope this record will give us the clues we need in order to get things moving. I prayed silently as Nicola set the record down onto the gramophone. He slowly set the needle atop it as it began to spin. Wow. And we know this part will be a little bit different. My childhood home. I went there to see the vacant lot after I regained my memories. To be honest, it excited me. To think that it'd be so easy to make any evidence of human life disappear. And you know what I mean, do you not? The same could be said of you as well, Signorina. Okay. Oh, you're such a nice... Sorry, I'm sitting here petting him. He's gonna scream and bite me in a hot second. Oh, so soft. Oh, no, don't bite. Don't messy. All right. Oh, hi. Oh, that was nice. No, don't bite the headset. You can talk to the people and give kisses without biting headsets, okay? No. Talk. Nothing. And be silent. Jerk. Oh, Oliver! Don't get shot! Absolutely does get shot. Hello, Phantom! Crazy, psychotic bastard. I do like that you get a little more insight into him depending on the route you go down, because it's little different insights, but at the end of the whole thing, you have this, like, greater insight of him. I'm gonna guess that the other ending, where we're, like, the single independent woman route, we choose, like, staying with the Lauschu, and then the Falzone, and then the Visconti each individually. Like, we don't stay with just one consistently. You know what I mean? So that you don't get, like... points with anyone really over anyone else. We found the Iron Crown where we obtained the last record, in Rome. As previously reported, Sebastiano Gallier's family home was cleared into a vacant lot, but the deed remained under the Gallier family name. In other words, under Sebastiano. Our men did some digging, quite literally, and there it was. Orlok's already delivered the Iron Crown to the church. Somehow I knew when they said the vacant lot, and I was like, this is such a fucking Yakuza reference written here. I mean, you know, except for they're like, you know, the Italian mafia, not the Japanese mafia, but still. Like, the vacant lot in frickin' Yakuza, and like... he buried the Iron Crown in the fucking empty lot. Like, I can't help but see the parallel here. And oh my god, hold on. I've got to turn our volume off. Here we go. Because we're not allowed to skip the credits. Still, every single time is going to make me mad just because, like, it's all right. It's just because, again, you've seen it like 37 times. They don't change. You know what I mean? Um, and I kind of understand. I think it's a different end song. I'm not sure because I never listen to them because I can't. It'll distract me, and also I have to make sure everything's down so the microphone doesn't pick anything up. But it is like, you know, it might be different between like the happy ending and then like the bad endings, or like then this ending. But it's like, but we've seen this one like 42 times already, so it's like, uh-huh. I don't know. I like it when they let you skip it just because. Again, especially when you're like, I've got to go through 50 different endings in this game, and then you're making me sit here and like, I don't know. It's kind of like when I'm going through a game, like, okay, I have to skip from the very beginning of the route in order to get the bad ending or whatever. It's not like, okay, it kind of stems off here. It's like, oh, I just spent 30 chapters in this game and like 20 hours, but now I got to sit here for like an hour skipping through to get, you know what I mean? Like, I know that it's going to happen, but sometimes it's like, I don't really want to skip. Like, it takes longer to skip sometimes. Because then you're like, okay, then I got to make this choice and read a line. Okay, and then I got to skip. And like, I don't know. I'm just noticing that because that's what's happening with Amnesia Memories as I'm trying to replay it. I'm like, oh my god! I gotta skip the whole month of August. And it has the same problem that this has with like the little transition scenes where like you're skipping and then the transition scene is there and then it takes twice as long to go through as it did when you were skipping, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna punch something. It drives me crazy. Like, it's just kind of annoying. Like, if I'm skipping, I want the transition scenes to go by faster. And also, still, who the hell's bright idea was this bullshit? It's to read. Oh my god. Hold on. I gotta turn my volume one back up when I turn the sound back up. And since I was already in the neighborhood, I decided to stop by the church. Your eyes start to get used to it, but it's really hard at first. I looked back around, but she wasn't there. I noticed Sister Sophia and called out to her. Hello, Sister Sophia. Is she around?
If you're looking for space, she went to the library.
She does enjoy reading, doesn't she?
Yes, and I'd say even more so since her return. These days, she's been visiting the library any spare moment she has. I believe she's become even more interested in the world after spending time with you.
Okay, that was the weirdest reading of that line, but whatever. It's hard to read this. Oh? The thought rendered me somewhat speechless. Yeah, see, the last line is clear, but the rest of them are like fucking a mess. After leaving the church, I thought to myself as I walked through the plaza in Arca, well, the library isn't far from the church. I'm also done with work, so I have some time to myself. I came up with a list of excuses, but my feet were already taking me to the library. I spotted Space immediately. She seemed to be concentrating with great focus, so I quietly took a seat next to her. This one's better because the background's already dark, so then turning it gray isn't as hard to read, but the other ones, it's bright. A book about war. Not a novel, but a non-fiction publication. That's kind of cute. It can't be a very interesting read. Not sure I'd even bother with it in that much depth. And she seemed to be researching as she read, looking back and forth between several open books in front of her. Space. When I spoke her name in a whisper, she gave a start and quickly turned toward me. What? Just as she was about to shout, I quickly put my finger to her lips. Shh. Space managed to hold back at once, then quietly whispered, "What are you doing here, Nicola?" I just happened to notice you here, so I thought I'd say hello. Seeing as how we were brought together, I can escort you back once you're finished reading. It may be a while longer. Not to worry, I can spend some time reading myself. Well, if you don't mind, then thank you, Nicola. Space accepted my offer with gratitude, then returned to her reading. Found a book nearby and sat down beside her. He's like, I will sit here and read with you just to be with you. An hour or so had passed. Space hadn't turned a page in a while. Her eyelids looked heavier than before. Tired? Should we leave? Just a little while longer. She rubbed her eyes and shook her head. It's just that I'm getting a bit drowsy. Maybe I feel too relaxed with you here, Nicola. Really. I couldn't help but chuckle. Space was trying her best to keep her eyes open, but her head dipped tiredly from time to time. Unable to bear the sight, I slowly reached out to her. Are we gonna just like nap in the library against his shoulder? Because I'm here for that. Is that the CG? Stop. It is. Oh my fucking god! It. You cannot be this beautiful. Stop it. Oh my god! Look at his suit too. It's so freaking totally different. I still like the fact that it's still like he still has the like patterned flare in his freaking like pocket, the scarf thing. You know what I'm talking about, the handkerchief thing. The pocket square, that's the word I was looking for. But like he's still got his green shirt, he's still got the gray jacket and the white vest. Like he's still got the white green and then the bold red tie. So he's still got his like color palette going on. Or, you know, just the fact that, like, he wears, like, a light-colored suit with, like, bold shirt tie kind of thing. But, like, I am just into this suit. I'm sorry. My sexuality is suit. I see a suit. I can't help it. But, like, goddamn. Ugh. He's so precious. I gently leaned her head upon my shoulder so that she could rest comfortably. Space didn't resist, and I felt her head grow heavier as she slowly fell asleep. To sigh, then whispered in her ear quietly so as not to wake her. Say, Signorina, I'm honestly glad that you trust me so much. I think you've left yourself too vulnerable. I am a man, you know. Still, I wouldn't want to awaken Sleeping Beauty in any unsavory way. Perhaps she was right to trust me. I gently stroked Space's hair, and she nuzzled her head against me in her sleep. Don't expect for me to maintain this friendly distance from you for much longer, Spacey. Gave her fair warning. Did what I could, even if she happened to sleep through it. You don't try to discourage me. Make it known to you soon. Prepare yourself. Rested my cheek against her golden hair, from which emanated the faint scent of flowers. The thought of taking her home with me while she slept was one that I managed to fight back. For some reason, I never act on my worst impulses whenever I looked at her. That's actually kind of sweet. Kind of like fucked up, but sweet. Having learned more about myself today, I smiled as I continued stroking her hair. Nicola got 2 good CGs. I would say, between the two of them, that one was slightly more awkward than the other one. But still not like, you know, Yang's where you're like, that's a little awkward, or Orlok's, or anyone. Like, actually, Gil got 2 really good ones. I still think Gil's were the 2 best. But Nicola's were both pretty freaking goddamn good. It's funny because in Gil's, like, Clear Winner was like the one where he swept us off our feet. The other one was really good, but that one was just the best. But like with Nicola's, it's kind of hard because it's like this one is just, it's so like, it makes your heart heavy, but it's still so beautiful. You know what I mean? And then you have like this one, which is so sweet and beautiful and like look at, and it's hard to choose. I don't know which one I like better. Honestly, I think the other one, just because this one's almost sad, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, so heavy, but like, look at him, he's so precious. And then this one's just sweeter and like a slightly happier kind of moment, you know what I mean? You're like, all right, this one's a little lighter, it's not as heavy, you know. But anyway, that was all of Nicola, and we will do Dante in the next part. It'll probably only take a part because kind of what happened with Orlok and Yang, right? Like, Orlok's route took us 2, and Yang's took us like 1 because we skipped through half of it. So we'll be doing a lot of skipping in the next part. Well, not really, actually. These have a lot of info, like stuff to read. So, but we will do Dante, and that will wrap up all of our boys. And then the only thing we have left to do is the alternate ending. You know what I mean? The alternativa ending. where it's like our single independent woman route. So we will do that. Hi, I know, I put you over there. I walked away to put my bird in a spot. And now he's like clucking at me because he's like, the hell, you walked away from me. I know. Did you go boobies? You're fine. I'll be back in 2 seconds. But anyway, so we probably have about 2 more parts of the Alternativa route before we wrap it up. At least this ending. So anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.